Look at how young he looks there. Oh my God. This is why people need to go through their old books so they can find random shit like this. Oh, welcome back to my channel. You are watching Shelly Flowers Reads and Writes, where I talk about all things related to reading and writing. I am Michelle Flores, the host of this channel, and today I am going to be doing a bookshelf reorganizing / September TBR. Now, for those of you who might be new to this channel, I unhaul and organize my bookshelf every single month because I keep my TBR books separate from the rest of the books on my shelf. So join me as I organize some books and see if I have to get rid of any books. I am keeping all 4 of these lovely books of poetry that I talked about in my last video. So if you are interested in hearing about these, you can go ahead and check that out. I will link it in the cards above. But right now, I need to put these back on my bookshelf. So, okay, so here are the books that I am going to be unhauling in the month of September. The first book is Warbird by David Young. I got this book for free in grad school because, like I've talked about in other videos, when you go to grad school and get your MFA, you will oftentimes receive random either free books or journals or things that the school is just sharing resources with the students. This happened to be one of those books. I remember reading it a couple years ago, but it didn't particularly stick out to me, and it's not a book I plan on reading again, so out it goes. The next book that I am also going to be unhauling is this book right here, The Cloud Corporation by Timothy Donnelly. I remember reading this in grad school and really not enjoying it. I was a baby poet then, and I didn't understand a lot of the stuff. I had to read it for a course, and there's something about like required reading. The minute you're required to read something, all of a sudden it's just not as interesting, which makes me rethink all of the books that I made my students read over the years. Okay. Anyway, so I wasn't really into this, and I don't plan on rereading it, so I'm just gonna go ahead and unhaul it. The last book that I am unhauling, and this one is a little bit painful because I think the cover is really pretty. This is The Apple Trees at Olema by Robert Haas. This was another grad school read, and I don't remember anything about this book. Apparently, though, Alejandro Sanz was playing at Radio City Music Hall in 2010. Look at how young he looks there. Oh my God. This is why people need to go through their old books so they can find random shit like this. I swear, every time I do one of these unhauls, I open up a book and I find something random in it. So yeah, Alejandro Sanz, I'm 100% gonna keep this. La tortura, am I right? So anyway, this was a book where I didn't particularly like it. It has not stuck out to me. I've kept it all these years because I think this cover is really pretty. Like it's very, it's giving me very 90s witchy, The Craft kind of vibes with this like, muted colors and all this natural stuff. I might be the only one who's thinking that looking at this cover. But anyway, I thank you for your service, and now I must say goodbye. So ciao, baby. Okay, so those are the books that I plan on unhauling. I sell all of my books on my Amazon shop, which is linked down below, that I unhaul. However, if you like a book in particular that is listed on my shop and you want a copy of it, just DM me on Instagram or Twitter. I will happily mail that book to you for free. I love sharing books with people and giving stuff away, so just let me know, because anything I can do to save the United States Post Office, I'm gonna do it, including mailing packages to complete strangers on the internet. What could go wrong with that? Am I right? I am now going to talk about the books that I plan on reading this month. The first book that I have been reading this month is A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow. I am about a third of the way through. I'm really enjoying it. It's about mermaids and social justice, and I really appreciate that lens, so I will review this at the end of the month. The other book that I am currently reading right now is called Welcome to the Goddamn Ice Cube by Blair Something. Here's the cover. I am really enjoying this book too. This is a story about a girl who, when she was 16, traveled to Norway to basically learn how to live in the Arctic. She learned about, what do you call it? Driving huskies. I don't think that's the way you phrase that, but that's what I'm gonna say. She also learned about like living on a glacier and just living in bitter cold like that. And it's really fascinating, but what's also really intense is the descriptions of the relationships she had with men, because she was going at such a young age and she had never really had any romantic or sexual relationships with men. The girl has been through some things. I'm almost done with it, and it is just kind of jaw-dropping because I myself have not really had those types of experiences when I was young, because I was so extremely sheltered that it is really jarring to me when I read about stuff like that. And I know it happens. It's just not something I've ever experienced personally. So reading books like that are really helpful to me to keep that in my mind, that like my experiences in this world are not the experiences of every person, and I need to be cognizant of that when I make decisions about the world around me. So I'm liking it a lot so far. We'll see how I feel once I'm done with it. The next book that I plan on reading this month is Tar Baby by Toni Morrison. I love Toni Morrison. She is the author that basically made me believe I could be an author. I read Beloved in high school. Funnily enough, it was a required reading book, but it was the first time I read a required reading book where I was just like, what the fuck? This is allowed? You're allowed to do this? Which if you've read Beloved, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And she passed away last year, which was so hard. But I have not read any of her books in the past 10 years. I think the last book that I read of hers was in grad school. It was Jazz, which is a very experimental kind of novel. This is, I think, her novel set in the Caribbean. I'm always down to read books set in the Caribbean, so this is the book that I plan on reading. And I need to get back in the habit of reading her works. Next up, we have The End of Policing by Alex S. Vitale. So like I talked about in my last video, I want to be 100% on board with the concept of defunding the police and, you know, this idea that all cops are bad. I understand that on an intellectual level. A book that might help explain that philosophy is, I'm butchering the title, but I'm going to put a picture of it here. It's about the banality of evil, and it basically breaks down how Nazis were just doing their jobs, but their jobs were literally killing and oppressing people. And I watched an interview with this author on the channel For Harriet, which if you don't follow that channel, do it now. It's so educational, highly recommend. And Kim, the host of that channel, interviewed this author, and I just need to understand what defunding the police means and why people are calling for it. I think a lot of times people push back on ideas that they don't understand, and I'm not that type of person. I just need to understand it. I'm skeptical. I'm not going to say that I don't agree with the concept. I just need to understand what the concept is. And I want to do more than just Twitter and Instagram activism where you read a post and you reblog it and you make it seem like it's your whole life when that might not be the case. So I'm doing my research. I really want to understand this concept. I am an educator, so I know what it means to defund an entire societal need, and look at the state of things now in our world. So anyway, again, I'm not completely on board with it. I'm not off board with it. I just need to understand what the board is, if that makes sense. And thinking about that some more, Are Prisons Obsolete by Angela Davis. So Angela Davis is a living legend, and she has put a lot of work into the concept of living in a world without prisons and living in a world without police and what that looks like. I have listened to interviews, I've watched documentaries that she's been featured in, but I have never actually read any of her work. So I bought her book and I plan on reading it. Again, I am so willing to learn. I want to understand, but I want to make sure I'm also looking to the voices who are originating some of these ideas, because I think sometimes on social media, it's like playing telephone and messages get misconstrued. Like intersectionality is one of those terms that has a very clear specific definition that has morphed over time. The same thing with the term white passing or being white presenting. Those are very specific terms that have specific ideas that have been morphed, which language does change over time. Language does not stay the same, and it shouldn't stay the same, but sometimes we lose some of the nuance in the ideas that we have when we don't go to the original sources of where the ideas came from. So that's what I plan on doing with this and with the end of policing. Some heavy stuff. We'll see how I feel about it. Switching gears a little bit, I am participating in the Octavia Butler slow read that Onyx Pages is hosting. I'm linking her channel down below. I really love her channel and her voice. She does an excellent job of talking about books, and she is hosting this slow readathon of Octavia Butler's works, who's an author that I admire, and they're starting with Kindred. I have had this book on my TBR forever, on my Goodreads TBR, not on my physical TBR. I went ahead and bought this book. But I'm very interested in reading her work. I have her Patternist series, and I've had that for years, and I tried to read it once, but it was a few years ago when I was starting out a school year that ended up being an extremely stressful and difficult year for me. So it just wasn't the time to put that much mental energy into a book. And so now that I feel like my mental health is under much better control, I want to get into Octavia Butler's works. I'm also very fascinated by Afrofuturism and Afro sci-fi, Afro fantasy. As someone who's raising, two Afro Latinx children, I want to make sure that I'm exposing myself and them to a wide variety of literature. And also, Octavia Butler is just like so influential. All of the movies I like, a lot of the books that I like, a lot of the artists that I respect tout her as one of their influences. So I know I need to get on this bandwagon at some point. Switching gears quite a bit, I hit a huge wall with my manuscript for my young adult novel, and I stopped writing it for the past month. I couldn't get out of my head because I kept wanting to have the story be complete, and then I would try to write it down, and I just felt like everything was stupid. And I know that it's because this is just my first time writing a novel. It's not because it's actually bad. I think the concept of the book is actually really good and it can work. I just need to be better about trusting my ideas, but I also need to understand the process of writing a book. So I bought Save the Cat. Hey! And I think, honestly, I just need Fiction 101. I never took a fiction course. I have read a lot of fiction, and I took literature fiction courses, but I've never taken a writing fiction course. So that's something that I need to do. And I plan on teaching myself with this book. Next, I plan on reading All About Love by Bell Hooks. My best friend actually bought this book for me for my birthday. And yeah, I'm very interested in this book. I have not read anything by Bell Hooks before, except for a few chapters or, required readings of hers. But I mean, obviously, she's such an integral part to the social justice movement that we see happening right now. And I can't say that I understand concepts if I'm not reading from the source of them. So yeah, that's what this book's for. And of course, as always, this behemoth, The Skillful Teacher. I actually haven't read any of it at all. I think in the entire month of August, maybe read 10 pages, which is not great. So yeah, your girl's all over the place right now. It's odd because I don't hate this school year. I actually really love a lot of things about it. My biggest class has 17 kids that come every day, which is so nice. I can get so much work done throughout the day. I get an extra planning period. And I'm able to focus on the things that I love about teaching, which is primarily building curriculum, tracking data, and communicating with parents and families. I think it's pretty clear that I am ready to leave the classroom and do something else. I love my students so much, but that is not my favorite part of teaching. And I do firmly believe that if you're going to be face-to-face in front of students every day, you have to love it. It's almost like being an actor. Like, you've got to get up there and perform and give it your all. And I don't mind doing that still. It's just not my favorite part of the job. Like, I love pulling together different resources and creating materials. I love tracking data, noticing, what objectives are kids mastering, what questions are they getting right, which ones are they getting wrong, why might that have happened. And I really do enjoy contacting families. Like, I have zero problems emailing people, tracking kids down. I went through and emailed every single student of mine who was missing assignments in the first week, and it was fine. So I've been selling myself short for so long, and I think I have this concept that I'm not ready to be an admin, or I'm not ready to do other things, and I am. And hopefully I can make it through this whole school year. I'm really praying, because making it to 10 years was a huge goal of mine. And now that I'm here, it's like I can taste the finish line, and I'm like anticipating something else, but I don't want to overdo it. So anyway, I'm starting to ramble now. This has nothing to do with the books that I plan on reading this month. Thank you for sticking around this long if you have. And if you have stuck around this long, go ahead and drop a stack of books for me, because your girl needs to get back on this reading train. I kind of went through a slump. That's where we're at right now. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I post videos every Wednesday and Sunday, sometimes Friday. You can find me on all social media platforms as @ShellyFlowers. I have a couple books for sale, so if you'd like to purchase them, you can find the links down below. Okay, ciao y'all.